If you have a story like these, or any other true scary story you want to send my way, go to astheravendreams.com and click the button to do so. And of course, thank you. I just found your channel, and it is really interesting. It reminds me of a strange period of time where some bizarre things happened with 4 X's. I'm telling you the story. It is 100% true, and I hope it makes the cut, and is weird enough to air, because it was really weird to me. This happened over a period of time from 1991 to 1998. I'm into the unusual and paranormal, and have had lots of glitchy experiences. I've been seen outside getting into a big van when I was actually home in bed. I've heard songs start playing again right after they finish on sound systems in stores. I've seen the same people walk by twice. I've seen floor patterns change in front of my eyes. You get the picture. But the story that I'm about to tell is the strangest thing that has happened to me, and I hope it's good enough to be read on here. For context, I am an almost senior woman now, and was in my 30s when this happened. It helps to note that I have never been lucky in relationships in the past. I had short relationships and was dumped often back then. The first time this happened was in 1991. I had been dating ex number 1. It seemed to be going well for about a month, and then suddenly he just decided to dump me. I did not know why he dumped me, and I didn't handle it well, and would phone and pester them for about a week, wanting to know why he did, before deciding to move on. I had stopped calling ex number 1 for a good month. One day, I heard the phone ring and just didn't feel like answering it. I rarely answer the phone, and I let the answering machine get it. It was a landline phone, as we didn't really have cell phones back then. I let the answering machine take this particular call, and this was back when you could hear the caller leaving the message in real time. I heard ex number 1 yelling, "Stop calling me! I want you to leave me alone and want nothing to do with you." I picked up the phone and asked him what he was talking about, and told him that I hadn't called him in about a month, and that I was moving on already. He insisted that I had been calling him non-stop. I asked him, "Was this recently?" He said yes. I told him that I have not been calling him, and told him to leave me alone. I thought, well, maybe he was actually missing me and was wanting to get my attention somehow. I had a roommate who could vouch for me, and told me that she hadn't seen me call him because they thought that he might be mad. I dismissed it until it happened again with a different ex, who we'll call ex number 2. I didn't actually date ex number 2, but I wanted to, so we'll still just call him ex number 2. We met and became really good friends, and we had lots of fun together. I was really into him and could have sworn that he was into me. This relationship actually lasted almost a year. I decided it was time to tell him how I felt, so I did, in the form of a nice card. He totally distanced himself from me, and it became clear that he didn't want what I wanted. So, sadly, I just accepted it and moved on. I didn't call this guy at all after it ended, as I had the first guy. 2 months later, and I was moving on just fine, my roommate came home and laughingly told me that he'd told her that I was calling him all the time and bothering him. You see, she and he were also friends. She could totally vouch for me and told him herself that I had not been calling him. She told him that I had not mentioned him at all, and that I was not interested in him at all anymore. I thought this was funny, and she thought that he was still thinking of me. I remembered the time that this happened earlier, and I started to wonder what the heck was going on. But, again, I dismissed it until it happened again in 1997. So, yes, I met a guy who will be known as ex number 3. We had a great time together for about 4 or 5 months. I have to admit, I got a little demanding, and I messed this one up. He dumped me, and I was sad about it for months. I did not harass him on the phone at all, but would run into him a lot when going out at night. Yes, I would run into him on purpose. I didn't bother him when I saw him, though. Also, the fact that my bestie was dating his roommate made that all the more possible. I was hopeful for about 2 months, but I started feeling better and moving on, but I was still going out with my bestie and having fun with her. She called me one day and told me that he had told her that I had been pestering him and would not leave him alone. She said to me that she told him that I had moved on a long time ago and had not been calling him. I was starting to wonder why this was happening, and how could it be that these 3 guys could all think that I had been calling them? Even if they had changed their minds and wanted me back, what are the chances that they would all use the same weird ploy to get my attention? They did not know each other, and the friends that were involved did not know each other. It happened again with ex number 4. I met him through another close friend of mine in 1998. He and I hit it off, and had a great time for about a month. He just ghosted me, just stopped calling me. Neither my friend or I could figure out why he did this. He hadn't disappeared because he still called and hung out with her. He had a pager at this time. This was still before cell phones were a really big thing, but pagers were. I paged him a fair bit for about 3 weeks, or maybe even a month. I gave up after a while, realizing that this was not going to get me anywhere, especially when he didn't call me back. Again, I moved on, but still hung out and went out with my friends. Neither one of us drank. This is important so you know that I wasn't drunk when the weirdness happened. I would often crash on her couch when we went out on the weekends, as we lived quite far apart, and I didn't have a car at the time. So one day my friend called me and said that something strange is going on. She told me that he told her that I had been paging him non-stop all week. I said that I haven't paged him for a long time. Is he mistaking the pages for the past pages? She told me no, that he had meant that they were recent. He showed her the pager and there had been pages from me recently. The only thing is, I had not been paging him. Then, she told me that there was one on a night that I had been out with her and had spent the night at her place. The page had come from my phone number at my house. Another strange thing is, it had come in at 6 a.m. She explained to him that that was not me, and it couldn't have been because I was still asleep on her couch at her place. She and I were both baffled by this. I did have roommates at the time, and I wondered if one of them could be doing it. I may have even asked them, but I can't remember. Between the 3 of us, a lot of numbers were dialed, and it was unlikely that hitting a redial would have reached his pager, especially since they didn't know his number. I hadn't given it to them. I can't see how any of my roommates would get up at 6 a.m. on a weekend just to page him. Also, I was good friends with them, so they had no reason to do that to me. So what happened? Did I just somehow black out, race home on a train that wasn't running yet, page him, and then race back to my friend's couch? It was strange. So, I am baffled by this pattern to this day, and the similarity of the circumstances with these guys that didn't know each other at all. What are the chances of all of them making it all up and lying about me bugging them? I'm beginning to think that I have a crazy doppelganger that was stalking them, or maybe I glitched out into a different reality where I was harassing them when they said I was. It hasn't happened again, that I know of. Maybe there is some rational explanation, but I haven't found one yet. I'm a big fan of your content, and have been listening for the last couple of months, but I'm not sure if these instances count as glitches in the Matrix, but many are definitely paranormal. This is a long one, so sorry about that. I have 3 cats, 1 female and 2 males, which may be important. Let's call them Lena, Simba, and Prince. And I have several encounters revolving around each of them. 1. Lena was meant to go into minor surgery, and the day before, I thought it would be a nice idea to let her and Simba into the yard while I was doing some work out there. Prince couldn't because he was too young, and he didn't have the shots to go outside. We saw her and Simba go into the yard with me, on camera, and then I shut the door to make sure Prince could not get out. Then, on camera, it shows my mother letting Simba in. As time passed, I realized I no longer saw Lena. I frantically searched the yard as my entire family came out to help. We checked the cameras all over my back and front yard to see which direction she headed, but for some reason, the camera connection was cut in the entire yard, and reconnected right before Simba was let in. This was extremely odd. After this, my mom went to pray that she would come back, and literally immediately, Lena walked right up in front of her. She seemed stressed and had trouble urinating for the rest of the day. The next day, I brought her in for surgery and told the vet what happened, and she said that it was not uncommon for her to hear stories of cats doing similar things before surgical procedures. This may not be a glitch or paranormal, but just the circumstances and timing, along with the fact that is somehow common, it surprised me. Number 2, this story isn't quite as long as Lena's, but I have seen Prince and Simba walk around gleefully several times, and only seconds later, I hear loud, drown-out meows from one of them. When I go to see where they are, they're in a small storage cabinet in my kitchen. This almost always happens when I'm the only one home, and even if others were home, they would have probably seen a cat that's almost the same size as the cabinet themselves sitting in there. This has happened at least 5 times for Prince and Simba respectively, and they never seemed distressed at all afterwards. We tried to see if there was any holes that they were somehow sneaking in through, and we found absolutely nothing. It's just weird that it only happens with my boys, though. I heard in many cultures that cats are connected to the divine and supernatural, so this may just be another example of that. I have other paranormal instances related to my cat, but it's honestly a super long story, and I may tell it another time, I'm not sure. But thank you for listening, and I look forward to hearing if anyone else has had similar experiences involving a pet. I don't normally give my opinion or afterthought, but I will absolutely say people have. Cats do not operate within the Matrix. Just putting that out there. Hello, Raven. I love your stories, especially the glitch and the Matrix ones. It always brings me back to the moment that I saw my mom twice. Let me tell you the story. This happened back when I was 7 or 8 years old. I know that I was young because my brother, who was a year older, was playing with me at the back of our rented home. We usually play in the backyard, especially with bugs. I know, but we were bored back then. There was no technology to keep us indoors. I still miss playing with my friends as a child. I'm 26 now, but I still remember this day like it was yesterday. When my brother and I were playing, we were called by our mom to get back in the house. Yes, we heard her, but, as kids, we wanted to play until the sun actually sets. Right when we were back playing with the insects and leaves, my mom came out of the house, which was only about 15 feet away, and called to us with her hands resting on her hips. Our mom looked different. but we can't really place it. She looked pale, and her hair was tightly in a bun. The one thing that struck us was her pink t-shirt. We don't remember her owning this pink t-shirt. After calling out to us, she looked pretty pissed off, and then walked back into the house. We knew that we were in trouble, that we were still outside, so we raced after her. My brother raced me to the house, but he ran to the front door, and I ran after her 5 seconds after she turned into the back door. Once I went into the house, the kitchen was clean, and there was my mom. At the kitchen sink, with a dark blue t-shirt. She was just washing the dishes. The kitchen sink wasn't that far away, but if I caught up to her, she wouldn't have been that far that quick. Her hair was in a bun, but messy. My brother got to the kitchen from the front door, and we were both stunned. I knew my mom could prank us, but this was too sudden. As a child, I knew that this was impossible. She couldn't have changed her shirt and changed her hair within 5 seconds. I was right behind her just a few seconds prior. My mind was telling me to check our laundry baskets. My brother and I checked, and we asked our mom if she ever owned a pink shirt. She asked why, and we told her what happened. She looked at us as if we were speaking a different language, and then laughed and said that we just finally listened. To this day, I feel like she was trying not to scare us. But I know that we experienced some type of glitch, or we saw something that impersonated our mother. Are there any other explanations? Hey Raven, I've been listening to your channel for a while, and I love all of your stories. For me, the most entertaining are the glitch stories. While I've had a few things happen that are strange, most people probably do. So, my story centers around my grandson, Allie. He's 3, and at this time, his main interests are the Toy Story movies and toys. So, for Christmas, his other grandma got him a Woody doll. He loves this doll. He has Buzz and Rex and a few other characters too, but Woody is his favorite. Anyway, as the grandma, I watch him and his sister Mirabella, who is almost 4, every day. Sometime mid-January, they were at my house for the day, and my daughter came after work to get them. So we start getting them ready to go, and we can't find Woody anywhere. He starts crying and can't remember where he had him. It was getting late, so he said, "I'll just deal with it, I guess." As he's crying, I told him I would look for him. So the next day, I tear the kids' room apart, empty the toy boxes, dressers, look under the beds. Then I expand the hunt to the rest of the house. My bedroom, the kitchen, the living room, the bathroom, everywhere. Nothing. No Woody. That weekend, my husband even takes the ducts in the basement apart because I figured he went down one of the vents. Ollie likes to drop stuff down there. There were about 20 cars down there, but no Woody. So then a few days go by, and it's my turn to have Ollie, so I take him to Walmart to get him a new Woody doll. He's happy as can be. Yay. So my daughter moves into a new place. Unfortunately, there was a hole in the kid's bedroom wall where the doorknob poked a hole on the drywall. So of course, that's where the new Woody doll went, along with a few other toys and the TV remote. I said, too bad. I'm not buying another one. He has to learn not to drop toys where you can't get them back. Anyway, it's been a few weeks, and he's kind of moved on, playing with other toys. Meanwhile, I've been continuing my search with no luck. So I have the kids over yesterday. They've been in and out of the playroom all day. About 4 p.m., they go running into the kids' room, and they both screamed. Kinda like a freaked out screaming. Then, at the same time, they yell, "Nina." That's what they call me instead of Grandma. They said, "Nina, Woody is back." I go running to see what's going on. As you walk into the kids' room, the door opens to the left. On the wall of the open door is a dresser. Halfway sticking out from behind the dresser is Woody. I'm like, what the heck? There is no way he was there. I moved that dresser. I emptied the drawers. I asked the kids if that's really where he was, and they seemed as shocked as me. We have all been looking for Woody for weeks at this point. I've looked everywhere in there. It was so obvious to see him as soon as I was in the doorway. There's no way he was in there for weeks. Those kids have been in there playing for weeks. I really don't know what to categorize this as, glitch or paranormal, or maybe the toy story is true and the toys play when we aren't watching. I really don't know. I don't know where Woody went, and I don't know how he got back. I just thanked the universe for returning him. Once again, Ollie is happy to have him back. I just hope that he doesn't end up in the wall with the other one. Thank you for sharing my weird story. Hey Raven, I love your Glitch in the Matrix videos. I've been listening for about a year now. Anyways, on to the glitch. This one isn't all that exciting, but definitely left me confused and thinking WTF. This happened just last week. I was in the bathroom putting in my contact lenses. As soon as I put in the right lens, my eye immediately started to feel really irritated. Which, if you wear contacts, you know the pain. I took the lens out immediately and decided to rinse it with some contact solution and clean it to see if that would help. Here's where the weird part comes in. I put the lens in the middle of my palm and started drenching it in the solution. While holding the lens in one hand, in my palm, I wiped off my other hand on the rag right next to me, and when I looked back down, the contact was gone. I immediately got a strange feeling that something had just happened, but I shook it off and decided to look for the contact, assuming that I had just dropped it somewhere. Even though I hadn't even moved the hand that was holding the contact whatsoever, so it just falling like that seemed unlikely, yet the most logical answer. I looked on the counter directly under my hand, and the floor directly under that, and even checked if it was anywhere on myself. You know, like if it was stuck to my clothes or something, but it was nowhere to be found. It was just gone. Luckily, I had one more pair, so I had just put those lenses in and went about my day. About an hour or so later, I went back into the bathroom again. I was washing my hands when I noticed in the mirror that, on the shelf behind me, there was a dried-out contact lens just sitting there. I turned around and just stared at it. Now I was even more confused. Was this the same contact that I had lost earlier? If so, how did it end up on the shelf that high up, and across from the sink, where I had been putting in my contacts earlier that morning? Also, if it was the same contact, how did it dry out that fast? It had only been an hour. There was no way it would have been all dried and crusty like that if it had been the same contact from before. For it to get that dried out, it probably would have taken at least a few hours, maybe even a whole day. And if it's not the same contact, then where did this one come from? I've been walking past this shelf for days. It has my towels on it, so I would have seen it when I went to grab a towel from the shower. Also, I know myself. There's no way I would have just randomly put one of my contact lenses on the shelf and just left it there. If I was going to get rid of an old contact lens, I would have just thrown it in the trash, not gone out of my way to put one single contact lens on the shelf. I live alone, so I know it couldn't have been anyone else who put it there, and even if that had been the case, it still doesn't explain how the original lens just disappeared right out of my hands, into thin air. And like I said, it's not that exciting, but definitely confused the hell out of me. and I'm not really sure what happened. Where did my contact lens go? And where did the one on the shelf come from? I have 2 cats, a calico cat and a gray cat. Since I got them, weird things have been happening with the gray cat. Sometimes it would walk past the couch that I was laying on and disappear into the bathroom doorway, only for me to see it coming from a completely opposite doorway and move the same way into the bathroom doorway. I shrugged it off at first and assumed that it had gone back without me paying attention. The weird thing is that it kept happening, and I would at times watch it go into the doorway, take my eyes away for just a second, and looking back, I would see it walking towards and through the same doorway it just disappeared into. The only logical explanation I had for this was that it had run past me right as I took my eyes off of it, and it started walking towards the bathroom as soon as I looked at it again, which just seems highly unlikely. Only my brother and I have seen this happen, and we just brush it off with jokes, assuming there's a logical explanation. Another weird thing that happens with the gray cat is sometimes I would hear it scratching at the front door wanting to come inside after I let it out. I would go and open the front door, and we would walk to the couch together. As soon as I sit down and start watching TV again, I would hear scratching at the door again. Assuming it's the other cat, I would go open the door, only for the gray cat to walk in. Looking back at the couch, I would see nothing. No windows were open at this time, as it was night, and even if it had found another opening, I remember pushing it off my lap as I went to open the door so it couldn't have gotten outside again. This has been witnessed by the whole family, as it used to happen during supper. I would go outside and someone would let it back in, only to hear it scratching at the door again as soon as they sat down. We always assumed a window was left open, but at this point, I'm not so sure. I couldn't talk to anyone about this without sounding crazy, except for my brother. So, I hoped to find someone with a similar experience here. This just happened this morning. I was driving to work and was pulling up to a light. At this intersection, there was 2 turning lanes and 2 straight lanes. I was in the leftmost turning lane. I had looked to my right and saw a red car in the turning lane next to me. I remember noticing that the driver looked fairly young, and thinking to myself that they would have to get over into my lane once we turned, since their lane would merge into one lane shortly after the turn. Then, the light turned green, and we turned. I looked into my rearview mirror to see if she had merged over or not, but that red car was nowhere in sight. There was nowhere else the car could have gone. The car that was behind me was instead a large, beige SUV. Once I had gotten to my turn, I sat for a moment in the turning lane to see if maybe she was behind the beige SUV. But no, that car was just gone. I recently saw this account and realized this exact phenomenon happened to me several times. This happened just last year, and I really don't know how to explain it at all. I'm not too good at story writing, but please bear with me. Me and my close friend oftentimes meet up, and I almost always drive. I had a vape on me, and when I have it in the car, I always try to put it in the center console where it's visible, so I don't lose it. I was filling up my tank, and when I returned to my car, I saw it wasn't there, and I asked my friend if she used it. She was very confused and said that she had no idea where it had went. We basically tore apart the car looking for it, and then I remembered my car had a glove box. which I nor she have ever even used before. We opened the glove box, and we found it. We were both surprised, and I even asked her if she was pranking me, but she insisted that she was not, and she genuinely seemed astonished as to how it got there. Like I said, I have no idea how it got there, and she didn't seem to know about it either, so we just brushed it off out of confusion. Now, the same thing happened less than a week later. I had parked my car as we were driving, and I realized my vape was no longer in the center console. We looked around for a bit, and I jokingly said that it was probably in the glove box again. She checked, as a joke, and lo and behold, it was sitting right where it was the first time this happened. This instance was even more unnerving, because we were both using it at least 10 minutes before, and neither of us had opened the glove box, so it was practically impossible for it to get there. Similar instances occurred until I crashed my car later that year, and this phenomenon ended. I'm not sure which entity or what was trying to hide the device from us, but it was just really, really weird that it only happened with this particular type of device, and that it happened so often. So that, my friends, was this week's collection of Glitch in the Matrix stories. Collection of strange stories, odd stories, bizarre stories, stories that get you thinking about reality. Borderline paranormal, definitely supernatural, sometimes explainable, but in the end, all of them odd. Yeah. I don't know much to say about them. They were good stories, and I appreciate everyone who submitted their story to me, or allowed me to use their story from Reddit, the one person that did in this video. Everyone else was a submitted story, so that's pretty awesome. You guys are amazing, packing that stuff in. Of course, I am still looking for glitch stories, always, because I do this weekly, so if I get 10, that's kind of a video most of the time. And so yeah, if I get more, I would appreciate it. I have a definite video for next week. It'll be fine. I'll ask for them from Reddit. It'll be okay, but if you guys have some, please do send them in. Now, I want to complain for just a moment. It won't be a very strong complaint, just a venting of something. This time change is kicking my ass. That's right, I said it. It is beating the crap out of me. I am super tired. I cannot seem to adjust to the stupid hour shift, which is dumb. But, I'm waking up at, 6 o'clock, which would be 5 o'clock, without the time change. And that's fine. 5 o'clock is fine. 6 o'clock is not. I mean, it is. It's fine. I figure it out. I like waking up at 5, because I like to do stuff. But waking up at 6 is kind of ruining things. Because if I wake up at 6, I just say screw it and go back to sleep until 7. Because what's the point of getting up at 6? It's not 5. In order for this to make a lot of sense, I think I would have to explain my morning routine to you all, and I'm not going to do that, so my point is, I'm tired. That's the other part, I'm not feeling tired at the right time. I'm not getting tired, whenever I should. This time change sucks, is what I'm trying to say. Anyways, friends, hopefully you all enjoyed the stories. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button. I would really appreciate that. If you're new to the channel and liked what you heard, consider hitting the subscribe button. That also helps tremendously. You can also join Patreon membership, where you get early access to content like this, or other content and other stuff, depending on what you sign up for, how you sign up, so forth and so on. Or a super thanks, which is just a tip to the channel, never expected, always appreciated. Now, this week, we're going to move on to something called the Word of the Week, is what I meant to say. On the Word of the Week, I throw a word at you, you wrap it up in a fancy little sentence, and you throw it back at me in the comments section. On the screen now, you'll see screenshots, little clips of people using last week's Word of the Week in a sentence on my videos. These people go above and beyond the expectations that I set, which is literally nothing. I have no expectations, so pretty much everything is above and beyond. Anyways, they go above and beyond and leave me a comment with the Word of the Week that I give them, and for that, I thank them and put them on the screen. So, thank you again to every single person who left me a comment. I do appreciate it. You are amazing. Now, this week, the word of the week is a little loud, if you will. The word of the week is cacophony. C-A-C-O-P-H-O-N-Y. It is a harsh or jarring sound, specifically the harshness in the sound of words or phrases, or an incongruous. I feel like I'm not saying that right, but I'm pretty sure I am. Or chaotic mixture, such as a striking combination, which would be like a cacophony of color being a slightly jarring contrast of colors mixed on something. Fun fact, not related, but Merriam-Webster says that a synonym for cacophony is bow wow. B-O-W-W-O-W. So if you want to use bow wow, I'll try to remember it, but please use cacophony. And that's the word of the week. All that said, friends, hope you all have a beautiful week. I hope you're having a great week so far. Hope I do see you again here very soon, but until then, remember, you are loved, you are valid, you are important, you are the best you that you can be. Please don't forget it and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And until next time, my friends, much love, and of course, sleep well.